Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our final quarterfinal of the AoE2 Noob Cup. We have Lyle the Kindly Viking in the orange, playing as the Vikings, versus Maniacal Rodent in the green, playing as the Vietnamese. I have with me, as always, Hiram of Tyre. Say hey, Hiram.
Hello, everybody. Glad you could come back.
And also with us is a former contestant, Supermud. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so amped that we're here at the final quarterfinal match. It's so, just personally speaking, it's so much fun to see this tournament come together and to kind of be at the, at the cusp of finishing the quarterfinal stage, moving on to the semifinals. Whoever wins this will move on to the semifinals against Teblap. It's going to be really exciting. We're playing on Wade here, which is an interesting map. We have in the center, I think a lot of the action that we're going to be seeing over the course of this game is in the center. Notice all of the fish spread throughout the, not fish, this is a lot of elephants actually, spread throughout the middle of the map here. And then we also have in the center, most of the gold on the map is right here on this center island. So I'm expecting we're going to see a lot of action for the middle. But, Hiram, what do you think about the matchup here? The Vikings versus the Vietnamese.
So in a map like this, especially where I think it's possible to build a dock, I'm not sure. I favor the Vikings over the Vietnamese. The Vietnamese get some pretty decent bonus, but the Vikings have everything they need to counter those bonuses. I'll let you talk about that in a second. But like we talked about the game in the first set that the Vikings showed up, it's a really good choice because a lot of the bonuses are pretty mindless. They just appear. You don't have to think about them. You don't have to. It's not like the Lithuanians where in order to get the relic bonus, you've got to go gather the relic. It just hits the free economic upgrades.
Right.
I think it gives the Vikings the advantage.
I agree with that. A situation where, a lot of times in a Noob Cup, you're balancing so many things, you may not even remember to get the wheelbarrow upgrade, let alone get it quickly, efficiently. And playing as the Vikings means that you get to just not worry about that. It kicks in immediately, automatically. And if you're playing against an opponent who forgets to get it or gets it late, that bonus for the Viking player is just that much more impactful. I agree with you. Now, to talk about the Vietnamese, we've seen the Vikings before. We've talked about their bonuses. The Vietnamese are a really fascinating choice, and I think could be very effective. Because if you're a Viking player, historically, a lot of players go archers as the Vikings. I don't know if Lyle is in the loop on the former meta when it comes to the Vikings, but a lot of players who play Vikings used to go archers. They'll go archers. The Vikings have very good archers and very good anti-archer options because all of their archery range units have additional HP. So their skirmishers are healthier than normal. They have access to the Imperial Skirmisher upgrade, which only the Vietnamese get. And their unique unit is the Rattan Archer, which is an archer with a bunch of pierce armor. So they're basically anti-archer archers. So if the Viking player goes archers, the Vietnamese are well positioned to fight that. If the Viking player goes infantry, well, archers beat infantry. So not to say that the Vikings don't have options. They do. They can overwhelm, with units. They can decide to go cavalry. And perhaps Maniacal Rodent may not have spearmen in response. But it's going to be really interesting. And again, like you said in previous sets, it is more about the players than it is the civs. But I think that it is an interesting civ matchup.
I agree. The one thing I will say, though, is if Maniacal Rodent realizes that Lyle the Kindly Viking is intending to go archers, he can still build some of the traditional anti-archer units. So it's not as if he's locked into either infantry or cavalry.
Correct.
He can mix some anti-archer along with infantry. And as the Vikings, that's a pretty solid choice.
Yeah.
Especially because, like I said in the first set, the Vikings, I haven't crunched the numbers since the update. They've got a little bit of a nerf, but not an amazing nerf. They were one of the best post-imp civs in the game. They were just, they're solid all around. So They've both got options, but I think that Maniacal Rodent has more options. Lyle is going to have to go into one of a couple different trees, and those, if Maniacal Rodent knows what to do, those can be countered.
Yeah, yeah. Now we're seeing Lyle was briefly housed there. He's fixing that. We're seeing in this match, in this set so far, both players doing very well with their economy. I think if you're comparing to the last set, I believe Maniacal Rodent was watching those games and probably took some of the lessons there to heart. Lyle, I know, is maybe a little more experienced than some of our other contestants, though definitely still qualifying for the Noob Cup. So, Supermud, I want to bring you in on this. First off, as a former contestant, just tell us a little bit about, how you were feeling at this point in your first tournament game. What was going through your mind, and what were you dealing with?
Absolutely. So I was also, in one of those matches playing the Vikings, and I think it's easy to look down at that scoreboard and see, oh, I'm really close to their score, or I'm even better than their score. Then I better be, I'm doing well, and
Right.
and it's easy to become lax and not be as efficient in that once you see your scores are super close. And I know that in the games that I was playing, our scores were really close, and then it wasn't very long before they got really far apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of those things. The scoreboard can be tricky. If you know what you're looking at, it can be useful. It can teach you different things. It can give you some hints as to what's going on. But especially early on, it can be deceptive because you can get, like, if I pull up right here, let's see, we have. I would say that what they revealed in the map is pretty even. So it's probably not that in this case. But sometimes you might have a player who has jumped ahead hundreds of points in score, and the only reason why is because they're scouting. They've got their scout moving around and unveiling parts of the map. And the other player, is focused on their economy, doing really well, but because they're not scouting, it looks like they're really far behind on the scoreboard. And it's very easy early on for these numbers to jump up and down. So I definitely recommend for, new players who are, they've got the scoreboard turned on and they're looking at it. Don't panic in the early game. If you're, like right now, you've got Maniacal Rodent behind about 250 points, but he's actually up in the Vil count. And so he's not only still in this game, but there's a good chance that he actually takes the lead at some point. We'll see how it pans out. But let me ask you this too.
Scouting.
Yeah, speaking of scouting, yeah.
Speaking of scouting, looks like Lyle just found Maniacal Rodent there on the map.
So, and that's a.
I want to interrupt real quick to make a point that it's something that we're seeing in the Noob Cup, and we're seeing both players do this as well. For the sake of the people who are watching, notice how the players tend to and have tended to place their initial farms around the mill.
Mm-hmm.
This makes a lot of sense, right? Because if you cluster it around the mill, then it's a faster drop-off point.
Right.
But one thing you can do, and one thing that most people should do, is place your initial farms around the town center itself. It makes it harder to raid. It makes it easier to keep those villagers safe by ducking them into the town center real quick if an attack comes, and then ducking them right back out once the attack leaves. So I just want to point this out because both players are, in the last set we saw the players, one of them didn't build farms at all, and in the other one we were kind of focused on the military. So I want to take this opportunity to kind of highlight that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Because it is a situation where, let's say, for either player, let's look at Lyle here, but we could say the exact same thing about Maniacal Rodent. Let's say that Maniacal comes in with a couple of scouts, do some scout raiding, and attacks these villagers here on the edge. They have to run all the way to the town center to try to avoid, dying. And, if Maniacal plays his hand right, he might get some kills out of that. Whereas if they're clustered around the town center, then all they have to do is a couple, 2 steps, and they're safely garrisoned. So you're exactly right that is one of those things that you can do just to help try to keep your villagers safe in the case of an early attack.
And speaking of early attacks,
yeah. Now, this is fascinating to me that Lyle has decided to go on the offense with Spearmen. We talked about in the previous set how spearmen are not typically the best raiding unit. They are good against cavalry. So if you're dealing with scouts, they're very good. They got a lot of bonus damage versus knights and scouts, but they are not very good in most other situations. You know, if when it comes to attacking villagers, attacking buildings, they're not going to do a lot of damage.
Right.
On the other hand, I will say this: you can produce spearmen with food and wood. You don't even have to go on to gold, and so that gives you a lot of. It's a lot easier to pump out spearman numbers than it might be to make sure that you've got enough gold to get militia on the field.
Right.
On the other hand, I don't know if Maniacal knows this. Massive kudos if he does, but skirmishers actually do bonus damage against spearmen. So this is a very good counter.
I was going to say he did the right play. He built the right unit, and it's not like he didn't have the gold to build some archers as well. So I don't think it was a reflex pick. I want to give kudos.
Yeah. Now, Supermud, when you in your sets, when you picked the Vikings, what were you looking at as the reason for Vikings? What was in your mind?
My immediate thought was the Berserkers. Those guys are pretty much the Teutonic Knights of Vikings.
Right.
And I've won multiple games using them just because they're so powerful and they can move fairly quickly.
Yeah. They have a lot
of course,
speed.
they can't move as quickly as cav archers, as you saw before.
Right.
From my game, but I really do like the Vikings for the Berserkers. I hadn't heard of people using archers with Vikings until watching that commentary.
Yeah. Berserkers are really good, especially with the latest patch. They got buffed alongside a lot of infantry unique units, but the Berserker actually was buffed even more than that with the last patch. They are very good units. Like you say, they're fast, they're strong. They heal whenever they take damage. They heal by themselves. We saw, I do want to comment on the battle that just happened here. I think that there was a little bit of a slip up by Maniacal Rodent. He had the early skirmisher horde kind of, doing damage against those spears, but then I'm guessing got distracted by his economy at home, and the spearmen were able to get into the face of the skirmishers. Skirmishers have a minimum attack range, so they have to be a certain distance away from their target in order to attack. Otherwise, they're, stuck. So, Lyle was able to get his spearmen into range and just kind of wipe out that early skirmisher presence. But now we're in a situation.
Point out here that Lyle is getting the blacksmith upgrades for the units he has on the field. He's continuing to go spearman, which is a little bit of an interesting choice. It's not going to really counter much of what we would expect to see from the Vikings at this point, but maybe there's a reason for it. But he's getting the blacksmith upgrades, and he's also going into castle.
Now, one thing that is massive, and I want to highlight this because we have several things going on. We have Lyle going up to Castle Age. We have, this force by Maniacal. He's got the larger army. He currently has the larger villager count. Lyle, as the Vikings, you get wheelbarrow as soon as you tech up into the feudal age, and he will have handcart as soon as he techs up into the castle age. That does give him an economic edge, but this is key, critical. Maniacal Rodent has himself researched wheelbarrow. And so he is staying on those economic techs. He has horse collar. He has double bit axe. That's showing me that, he's been paying attention to these games. He's been doing his research. And that means that the bonus that the Vikings get will not balloon out of control. If we were in the Imperial Age and Lyle by default has handcart and Maniacal Rodent was forgetting his own economic techs, and he was stuck without any of those techs, it would be a massive advantage for Lyle. That's not happening here. I think both players so far are doing very well. I'm very impressed with this game.
I agree. One thing I do want to point out, however, is that Maniacal has not started his gold at all. He's getting onto stone, and he's got the food to go up to feudal. He's continuing to produce from his TC, which is good. It's not gone idle very much, comparatively speaking.
Yeah,
but
he's actually starting it up right now.
He's moving into gold now, which is good. But if he had gotten 1 or 2 guys onto gold, maybe from food or from wood earlier, he would be able to tech up right now. As it is, he's going to be at a significant tech disadvantage to Lyle if they have a fight in the next 2 to 5 minutes, especially because Lyle is, like he's got the hand card. It's already come in. He's getting the chain mail armor. It's coming in, and the knights are going to come in behind it.
I want to note as well something that goes back to our first quarterfinal set. Maniacal Rodent has built multiple archery ranges, so he recognizes the value of multiple sources of unit production. If I go down to Lyle here, Lyle has not done that yet, but he does have a stable up as well as an archery range, so he's going to have maybe some strategic flexibility that we would not see out of out of Maniacal Rodent. But then again, kind of back onto the first hand, Maniacal Rodent also seems to recognize the power of the Vietnamese as an archer civ. I think that's probably why he went skirmisher. If he didn't know about the bonus against spearmen, he's probably motivated by the fact that he has food and wood. He knows that the Vietnamese get that bonus to archery ranges, and so he wants to take advantage of that as soon as possible. Whereas with the Vikings, and this goes back to your game, Supermud, the reason why so many players used to play them as archers was not because they had an archer bonus per se. It's not that they have the best archers in the game. It's just that they have such a good economy. And they had, I believe, fully upgraded archers that you could just afford an archer horde better than anybody else.
And I want to point out as well, a lot of times it's when you go archers, it's not because the archers are the best.
Whoa.
It's because I don't like that at all. For if you're Maniacal Rodent, that's gonna be painful.
I think this is a key snapshot moment where right now I think Maniacal Rodent has the lead. I see the score. It has Lyle up 600 points, but I think the villager count is massive. There's a big 12 villager count difference between the two players. Maniacal also has a larger army. So right now, I think he's got the edge. But if Lyle successfully gets this castle up, and I don't see him failing to do so, unless Maniacal Rodent moves out right now, Lyle gets control of the center, and that means if he holds it in the long run, that's a big, big, big advantage for Lyle.
Especially because with the castle, you either have to be aggressive and knock it down before murder holes come in, or you have to be patient and wait for trebuchets or siege units of some kind.
Right.
I do want to point out, I like seeing this a lot. The moment Maniacal Rodent hits the castle age, all techs queued up from all buildings. And I like that.
We have, again, handcart coming in for Maniacal Rodent. Really well done there. The techs, as you just mentioned, that's massive. Really big moves on his part. Now, I will say the only exception to that, I don't know if he's built a blacksmith or not. He does have a blacksmith up. He has not yet upgraded any of his units. And it looks like he has committed to a skirmisher horde. Which, if he has nothing to deal with these knights, will be a problem. But, otherwise, he has committed to a unit. So I would want to see some fletching, some padded archer armor, just to make this massive units that much better. It would make a big difference.
I agree. We've also got monks coming in from Maniacal Rodent, and I like this. He does have a couple spearmen up. Spearmen aren't going to do much with knights, but the tech into monks, if he can use that, monks are, in my opinion, the best counter to knights.
Yes. Yeah, if you're dealing with an army where you've got 2 or 3 knights, right, then having monks and being able to just capture these knights, that's big. Because what happens is not only does the enemy lose the knight, you gain the knight. So it's a double loss if you can use those monks successfully.
And there's that castle just brought up.
Castle's up.
I wanted to point out my downfall in multiple games was just not having the economy to support my army. And that goes into the villager count. And I think that's reflected here with Lyle. I think Maniacal Rodent doesn't have as many villagers as he should have, but Lyle is a good bit lower, and they're around the same spot here.
Yeah.
I also want to
um,
point out the idle TC time along those
I was
lines.
gonna go there. Yeah.
While yes, there's a significant advantage. If you look at the idle, it looks like, oh well, it's 10 villagers, it's 12 villagers. It's not as big as it could be. Maybe a 25% advantage. If you look at the idle TC time, it's actually a 100% advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now a part of that will factor in because Maniacal has to take time researching handcart and wheelbarrow that Lyle doesn't have to worry about. But even so, you're right that this number right here, if you guys are looking back, I think for anyone, especially at the noob level or the intermediate level, in my own games, when I look back, one of those numbers I'm looking at is this idle TC time and going, boy, how can I bring this number down? And I think both players are doing very well. I cannot begin to predict who actually wins this thing. But I would say for whoever wins and whoever loses, you can look at these numbers and go, okay, this is an area for, just taking my game to the next level, moving forward with my AoE skill. I want to mention Berserkers coming in. So, Supermud, you have the right idea there. You got to love those Berserkers.
Well,
and I
wanted
was
to point out that he's bringing up a town center.
Yep. I love that.
And
I love that. So this is fantastic because that means two things. One, he's looking at the economy, at the defensive aspect. He wants to take advantage of this gold, not just hold it, but take advantage of it. So that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing the extent to which he uses both TCs. Now note, he's got, how many is that? 3, 6, I think it's 8 villagers queued up from the one TC. He should bring the other one into the fold too. If he does 4 here and 4 here, he can get those same vills out twice as fast. But either way, he's using the economy, building it, getting the gold. That's great. He's also getting the siege workshop, so he wants to go on the offense. He's got some vision toward the end game.
Exactly, and I have to say, up until this point, if both hordes go right now, I think Lyle takes the fight, but doesn't do quite as well as he might think, as he might think. You get one mangonel up, just one, and suddenly it's a crushing loss for Maniacal Rodent.
Blacksmith techs coming in for both players, including Maniacal Rodent getting the padded archer armor. I love that. I think as the skirmishers, I was talking to Hiram the other day about this. The padded archer armor is actually even more valuable for the skirmisher, typically, than the attack is, because you're reducing more damage. If it's a skirmisher versus archer fight, it's more important to reduce the damage that the archer is doing to the skirmisher than amping up the damage that the skirmisher is doing to the archer. I love the priority there, but both techs are in for him. Very good.
I want to point this out real quick. Castle coming in from Maniacal Rodent. If Lyle had gone, I don't know, 2 minutes ago,
castle.
It's a crushing, again, it is a pretty solid win. But now Maniacal's churning out the pikemen, and he's got a defensive castle up, which I like to see. And I would predict that the Imperial Skirmisher upgrade, or the upgrades for the Vietnamese, are going to start rolling in as well, because we see him kind of leaning into the Vietnamese theme. So suddenly that position might change. Now, the mangonel is still a mangonel if he gets one up. And I think he should. But that timing that we were talking about last game, where if you're going to win the fight, take the fight now. And as it is,
look at this. Look at the armies here. They are, if you can pull up the vision, they are just outside. Excuse me, just outside of each other's range. So
Lyle also just brought up his monastery, and he's got some relics coming in there.
Fantastic. Oh, here we go. Here we go. A fight kicking off. This is massive. This is massive. How does this play out?
I like that flanking maneuver by Maniacal Rodent.
I like it as well.
Yeah.
Makes it harder to just chase down the skirmishers and run them off with the upgrades that they've already got. Yes, they've got a minimum range, but you're going to be engaged on all sides. I don't like priority tasking.
It looks like the problem here for Maniacal is he's gone heavy into skirmishers. But again, just like I was talking about with the spearmen earlier, the same thing is true for skirmishers. They do well against their chosen counters. So skirmishers do great against archers, and they do well against spearmen as well. But their damage against everything else is on the low side. You don't get a lot of a lot of damage against berserkers or against knights. Against other skirmishers, it's not that great. So,
Agreed.
it seems like his army has sort of fallen apart here, simply because, you know, Lyle did not go all in archer. He mixed it up with berserkers, with knights. The variety of units that Lyle had works to his advantage in this fight. I think that Maniacal's making the right choice by going into Rattan archers. It's a great option, but Lyle is ready for that with the skirmishers, and now, you know, Maniacal's kind of stuck. He's like, all right, what do I build here? It takes a little bit of everything.
And I want to zoom in on a couple things. You'll notice that Maniacal has his gather point for his stuff set away from the fight, and so that means that his units, when they're created, they walk away from the enemy, taking damage the whole way before they come to a position, at which point, since they're skirmishers, they then have to run even further.
Yeah.
This is a problem. So if you're facing a situation like this, click the building and then right-click the same building, and your units, when they're created, will garrison inside, and then you can wait till you have that critical mass.
Yeah, this is a really good game. I think that Lyle has a mass of units that Maniacal's going to be hard-pressed to deal with.
I agree. Especially with the Rams in the back line, maybe you could deal with the units themselves, but when you've got
Maniacal's ready
Rams
to call the GG, and there we go.
There we go.
GG for Maniacal Rodent. A really, really good game one from both players. That was really well done. I loved the economy from both. I loved the military buildup from both. I think ultimately, for Maniacal Rodent, it just came down to, I think, massing all of those skirmishers. Ultimately, they couldn't do enough against the variety of units that Lyle brought to the table. I think if he had gotten on gold sooner and massed up archers, he probably takes that fight much more successfully. A mix of the pikemen and the archers would have, I think, done very well there.
I agree.
But really well done, game one for both players.
Now, I don't know how the Vietnamese do with this. I'm not familiar enough with their tech. How are their scorpions?
That could have been an option too, yeah.
I would have liked to see some scorpions there because of the way the fight played out. It would be tricky to bring other siege weapons to bear, but don't underestimate the power of a few scorpions in the back line when you're dealing with clusters of units versus clusters of units. Area of effect damage is a solid choice.
Scorpions are hard. I mean, I still am learning about scorpions and when is the right time to bring them into the front. So certainly when I was at their level, I never used scorpions. You know, I would use
I agree.
battering rams, maybe some monitors, but you know, I would be impressed if someone started massing up scorpions.
I would be
Supermud, you want to add in on this at all?
I just thought that it was interesting that Maniacal Rodent built a lot of houses. He had his population like up to 185, and
Sorry,
I don't know if that would have been better to, like, if he was expecting to get that many units out, or if he should have saved those resources for more archers, or what he was thinking there.
You know, it's interesting because I'd have to go back and watch the replay to see when those houses came up. I would certainly rather you have too many houses than not enough houses. You want to have that room to boom into. But it certainly is the case where if there was a period where Maniacal Rodent was hurting for wood, and he really could have used that wood for more archers or more buildings, and he was out because he had built far too many houses, that would be a situation where you'd say, yeah, instead of building so many houses, you know, use the wood where it's more critical, or sell the wood for gold and use that gold in places where it's more critical. There certainly is something that can be said for too many houses. At the same time, like I said, I think that there are times and situations where that's the right call. You'd want to rather have, you know, more houses than not enough houses. So
Agreed.
I'm going to say well done for both players. Again, this was really, really well done. Both players should be really proud of their efforts here. But Lyle takes game one, and we move on to the second match of our best of three. And here we are with game number 2 of our final quarterfinal series in the AoE2 Noob Cup. Maniacal Rodent in the green, playing as the Vikings, using his own enemy's techniques against him, I see. Whereas we have Lyle in the orange playing as the Teutons. Couple of civs that we've seen in previous sets. It looks like, if these games are any indication, the Vikings may be a fan favorite for our contestants. And I don't know whether it's the bonus to the wheelbarrow, the hand cart. That's certainly what I look at as a major boon for this civ. Or if it's the Berserker and those capes. I know when I was playing AoE, I loved the unique units with the capes, the Teutonic Knights, the Berserkers. They're just so cool. And so that may be
half the battle.
Yeah. I mean, if you look cool and you feel cool, surely you are cool, and being cool means you win.
That's
gotta be
absolutely true.
Yeah.
I have never been cool and lost. Ever.
Yeah. I mean, right? So we have both players. Now, Lyle early on here with I'm looking at this idle TC time, and he's got triple Maniacal Rodent's idle TC time. This is still very early on in the game, but what that means is Maniacal Rodent takes a sizable early eco lead, 8 vills to 5. And again, don't underestimate the importance of just 3 villagers to the speed with which you bring in resources. That's going to make a big difference if you can keep that up.
It certainly can.
We have a villager going out to get the mill. So, again, I applaud both players. I think they were listening to those previous games. A strong focus on food and then moving from food into wood. I think we're seeing that from both Maniacal Rodent and Lyle. Really well done on their part. Let's take a look at the map. In the center here, we have quite a lot of berries. That's nice, but I don't think that berries in the center of the map and fish off to the side, I don't think that's going to be as important as, say, a map where you have, gold all in the center of the map. In fact, believe it or not, I think that the fish are much more important than the berries because fish collect very quickly. It's the fastest way to get food in the game. So the lakes will be important. The berries, their main bonus. Well, when you have berries next to your base like this, they collect okay. Maybe a little bit faster than farms, but not a lot faster. Their main bonus is you don't need to spend resources for the food. It's free food.
Interestingly, there is actually some gold in the center there.
Well, you have the relics.
All those relics.
Yeah, you have the relics, and that's probably the main thing to contest. I think I wouldn't say a trap. I mean, it's still a good thing if you go and build mills, take advantage of the berries, but what's much more important is getting a monastery up and trying to collect these relics and fighting for them early on.
Absolutely agreed. I think if one player, for example, takes the center, plops down a TC and dominates the center, while another one goes to either the northern or the southern edge of those lakes and puts one on the gold or near the gold, my money would be on the flank position to be superior. Just to put that in perspective. Although I will say, in a game where we have Relic Victory enabled, the ability to plop down, control all of those relics, plop down a monastery, and just get them in the space of about 2 minutes is huge.
Whoa. An early fight here. Maniacal going on the offense, and because...
I like it.
Oh, that was so close.
It was so close.
Wow.
That was a great move because Lyle did not have Loom yet. And that means that his villagers don't have that extra armor. They're not that sturdy. And so a scout can move in and snipe a villager. And if that villager were just a little further away from the town center, it goes down and Maniacal takes that much more of an economic lead. As it is, Lyle luckily saves the Vill and, keeps the game going.
Now, here's something Maniacal has done, and I like it. Instead of luring the boar all the way back from the other side of his mill to his town center, he staged them around the mill itself to gather the boar and is bringing the geese back to that villager cluster. So it's going to save him a bit of time. Why walk two ways when you can only walk one way? I like it.
I think that if you're talking about absolute efficiency, it's probably still better to get the boar under the town center, because that way, if you need to do a forced drop off, you have the villagers empty their pockets of food right away because you need food. It's probably better to do under the TC, but it's not that much better, and it saves a lot of mental bandwidth. If you're focused on keeping all of the other gears moving, this is a great move because you already have the mill right there.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Now, what I want to know is
barracks coming up. These players play for keeps. I mean, they want to put pressure on. They want to make sure that they've got an army. Supermud, I wanted to ask you this. You're friends with Lyle. I mean, I think you've played a game or two with him in the past, and we saw with that previous match, Lyle had a mix of units. A few knights, some berserkers, some spearmen, some skirmishers. Is that pretty typical in your experience to the way that Lyle plays the game? Or is
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Lyle almost sees Age of Empires as like a miniature version of the battles that you see in like the epics of Middle Earth,
Right.
He's a huge Tolkien nerd, and so he
Aren't we
loves
all?
to do that variety. He finds that really cool to have
Yeah.
all those different units working together and using them in different ways.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main things that he enjoys about the game, and so
Right.
that's definitely part of his style, and I think it definitely helps him as well.
Yeah, it definitely helped in that last match. I think that there can be a benefit. Like, if I'm in Maniacal's shoes, if that's the composition he's up against, what he's going to need to do, especially because it's going to be hard to counter all of those different types of units, if you go all in on one type of power unit, gold-intensive units, that's knights or archers or even berserker, if you go all in on one type, often you'll be able to tech up, and that one unit will punch through a cluster of a variety of units. So we'll see if he does that. Again, if he goes into the spearmen, the skirmishers, and he tries to make that his army, I think Lyle, will win that fight again. But we'll see how that pans out.
I just wanted to point out that again, Lyle's been getting stuck on that population cap a couple times there. He was at max, and so keeping up with those houses seems to be one thing that he could be working on there.
Luring in the boar. I love it. And he's
wanna point
actually
this
going to do
out-
the exact same thing. He's luring over to the mill. He's already got the berry villagers there, and so he wants to take the boar to where the vills are. Again, same thing as with... these are well-matched opponents.
Here's something that I want to point out. Maniacal Rodent has built an outpost, and he did it last game too. And a lot of players will neglect the outpost because, it costs wood, and it doesn't shoot, it doesn't really do anything other than stand there and look around.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate the advantage of seeing your enemy ahead of time.
Yep.
And so by placing this here, he's not going to be able to control the center, but he's going to be able to see if Lyle decides to make a bid for it, and that's big. That's a sizable advantage.
And again, we see Maniacal Rodent queuing up spearmen out of the barracks. And again, I love the decision to go for pressure, to go on the offense. But again, having said that, these guys are primarily, until you get into the late game, the post-Imperial Age, and there's no more gold on the map, for most of the game, spearmen are counter units. You build them if you are expecting a scout rush or you're expecting to deal with knights. You don't want to use them as general all-around units, because I think if he takes the 100 gold he has, or he had, now he's got 150. So if he queued up 3 or 4 men-at-arms or even militia, they probably do a better job than these 7 spearmen will. Well,
Agreed. Having said that, Houghton scouts is a thing that I see a lot, at least in my level.
It could work in his favor, yeah.
Yeah, you go into scouts, you force the enemy to go into spears and pikes, and then you come in with the Teutonic Knights.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty a pretty
Blacksmith
solid
upgrades
strategy.
coming in much faster for Maniacal Rodent. I love this. Good moves,
I
good
do
moves.
as well.
If he's planning, what is your long-term plan? And if you're planning on going infantry, again, I don't think you build a tech just for the 7 or 8 spearmen that you have on the field right now. But if your long-term plan is, I want to go infantry, I want to build up a berserker horde, for example, then yeah, go scale mail armor and get those blacksmith techs. That's great.
Now, if I were Lyle, I would not be building spearmen right now, like you said, just for 2 reasons. Number one, like you said, they're a counter unit. Number two, Lyle's scout is still up. If you look at the exploration difference, he's explored quite a lot more.
Right.
Not only that, he just ran into the other spearman horde. Why fight spearmen v spearmen when you can fight spearmen with militia?
Right. And that militia line, the swordsman line, they are built to counter. They are the counter to spearmen, to pikemen. So, that's even more of a reason to open up with men at arms instead. As it is, I mean, it helps to have something on the field. For spearmen is better than nothing, but certainly 9 beats 4. And if Maniacal Rodent decides to go on the offense, then that will work in his favor.
Agreed. Having said that, the spearmen that Maniacal has are not going to be able to do significant damage, and it doesn't take long to queue up 3 or 4 militia that'll more than easily handle 9 spearmen. So
now I just saw supplies come in from Maniacal Rodent. That is fantastic if he is going to go into the militia line. Supplies is a trap and a waste of time if you do not build a significant number of militia. The tech itself is worth, I want to say, I believe it's more than 10 militia units. So if you're going to build more than 10, it's worth it. I think it's like 15. You want to build more than 15 militia units, and then it's worth it. Otherwise, save the resources, don't build supplies, and just queue up your militia and whatever else.
I want to point out again, like we saw last game, we're seeing Maniacal Rodent with that Viking eco.
A massive, massive lead. And now he's the Vikings. He's the one with the wheelbarrow tech. And Lyle, to his credit, has also researched wheelbarrow, so he's not falling behind in the eco-tech department. But there's a big eco lead that will be really helpful for Maniacal Rodent.
Specifically looking at those villagers, again, Lyle's down 20 villagers, 21 villagers there. That's going to be very, very influential, I think, moving forward here. Seeing as Maniacal's now moving into the Castle Age.
Right.
They're both moving into the Castle Age, but Lyle had to buy food to do it, giving up 260 gold, in order to go up versus Maniacal, which means, assuming everything else stays equal, when they hit that age, Maniacal will be able to just churn straight into gold-powered units, whereas Lyle will have to ramp that up a bit.
Now, okay, Lyle is, I'm sorry, not Lyle, Maniacal Rodent here is running from the Tiger. That's because, and he's doing a good job of, this is the right move now. He did not research Loom. And so what that does mean is he has more vills. The vills are vulnerable. If Lyle were to get up a couple of scouts and, kind of move across the flank of the map and start attacking, these vills would die much faster than normal because they don't have that armor upgrade. I think Lyle, for his part, has researched Loom now, so his units are sturdier, and it will take just a little bit more for each villager to go down, and that does add up in the event of a raid.
One other thing I want to point out is that Maniacal, when teching into the Castle Age, already had people on stone, and he's already beginning to accumulate stone towards the castle. He could drop a second town center right now, which I think he should do.
Right. Now, you may be wondering, if I can pause and snapshot this moment, you see Lyle actually has a point advantage. He's 22, nearly 2,300 up from Maniacal Rodent's 2,150. If you're in the game and you're looking at the score, you're thinking, wow, Lyle must be doing better than me. But again, this is where it's really all in the scouting. You know, if we switch to from what Maniacal Rodent can see, he sees his base and he got a glimpse of the enemy's base, and that's it. He lost his scout, so he stopped scouting, and he's lost a lot of points, which don't matter. Points don't win you the game. Versus Lyle, who, you know, he's got his scout, so he has seen virtually the entire map. If we were to subtract the points that come from just scouting, Maniacal Rodent would be far ahead in the scoreboard. And this is an example of why I say the score can be useful, but it doesn't always tell you everything.
Taking a look
that
here, Lyle is
Lyle
bringing out his spearman.
moved in on that outpost, and this is why I like that outpost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Suddenly, you're not going to move in on that villager while he's building a base. Pikeman upgrade coming in for Maniacal Rodent, which is good. He's already got the first tier blacksmith upgrade, which means 1-for-1, his spearmen are going to win, and they're about to become pikemen, which means, yeah, spearmen, pikemen is not the unit of choice, or shouldn't be the unit of choice in this map, but since it's what both players are, better spears wins.
Yeah, if you have a mass of 20 spears, definitely get that pikeman upgrade up. I mean, at that point, it's a massive upgrade. So does he remember his blacksmith text? Will he get the castle age text now that he is in the castle age? He has the resources for it. I am still worried that as we see Maniacal Rodent moving out, it looks like, maybe, if he goes on the offense now, it will work. You know, your 22 pikemen beat Lyle's 13 spears. But if we give Lyle time, he's got the archery range and the stable coming up now. If you give him time to get the knights up and get the and the crossbowman upgrade is coming in, that's big.
I like that.
He needs to use it. So again, we're seeing him pick up these infantry techs where, again, we talked about supplies. I think he got the men-at-arms upgrade earlier, and he's not built a single militia unit yet.
Agreed.
That would be a mistake.
That would be a mistake, but it could work out for him in the sense that, that's not the most efficient path to build, but it does mean if he gets hit with something, he's going to be able to redirect faster.
Yeah, Maniacal Rodent has the way better economy, and he just hit the population cap, so I'm guessing he's probably working on a house right now. Yep.
He's definitely working on houses. He's also building, or has built, a monk. So, grabbing his first relic. If he manages to get all 5 of these relics, it's going to be very hard for Lyle to put the pressure on fast enough, early enough, to run down that clock. And if he only manages to, say, get 4 out of 5, well, guess what? You're the Vikings. You're going to have a solid gold income. He's already got a solid food income. He's going to be able to check it in. What I would like to see from Maniacal right now is a castle in that center to cover those relics.
He is producing out of both barracks. I love that. That is so impressive for when I see any player in the Noob Cup using multiple production buildings and producing out of them. That's something that took me a long time to learn.
Castle drop coming in, not in the center, but near the center. Again, I think the placement should be up the hill. Whenever you can use elevation, use elevation.
For those that don't know, you do get a little bit of an attack bonus if you are attacking from a higher ground, and you take a little bit more damage if you're attacking or receiving damage from a lower elevation. So it is useful if you inch that castle just a couple of tiles, like maybe right there. It will do more damage to anybody who is, at the bottom of the hill. Having said that, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. It certainly will help. I think it's probably better positioned than his castle in the previous game because it's very likely that Lyle will be attacking from that side and run into the castle. And here we have Maniacal Rodent on offense, I think, or at least scouting out.
Right.
He doesn't. Looks like he's scouting it out. Yeah.
Here's something that I don't like. Lyle saw that massive spears. He saw it when his scout ran by, and he had to do some fancy footwork to get a scout away. So, good for him. However, he then went in and built a bunch of knights.
Right. So if you know your enemy is going into spearmen, why build cavalry? You're setting yourself up for failure there. That's right.
And yeah, he's got some skirmishers, and that will help. Castle drop for Lyle in
Wow.
that center.
Ooh,
He's going to move to support it. Oh no!
Oh, he's moving
No,
away.
no,
He's
no,
moving away at
no,
the
don't do
exact
it.
moment. No! You gotta move back in. You have
I
to
was
move
about to
now.
say,
Go
I think
forward.
He's using... I think he's using those pikemen to hold
Protect the
the
relics.
areas
Yeah.
of the relics.
I think he is, but if he doesn't see it, and the
But
castle goes
it
up,
would be this would be
So
a big
frustrating.
win for Maniacal if he moves in.
Oh man.
it hurts.
The rodent needs to sniff this. He needs to smell that there's danger. Attack! Oh. Chieftain's coming in, which gives Viking infantry just even more damage. Infantry does more damage to cavalry. That's the Viking unique tech. So even more trouble if it's a night fight.
Come on, man.
It's not happening. This
I know.
castle will go up. He's not going to move. Berserker's coming
He
out.
might-
I like that.
Yeah,
Again,
he might. Once this monk grabs the relic, I projected he's going to move forward.
No.
I think the castle still goes up, but he might see it.
Nope. He doesn't
No.
see it. The castle goes up. Now, we have
Oh.
Maniacal Rodent moving into the Imperial Age. So, I think he's still in a good position. He gets up to Imperial first. Even if he's... Here. Wait.
Oh boy.
Wait. Look at this. We have Lyle's army.
Here
He
you
sees
go.
it!
At the
He sees
worst
it!
There we
possible
go.
time.
The castle's not up yet. It's only 80% up. I
Well,
don't think he
that's fair.
stops it, but at least he's not going to be
Right.
surprised. He needs to pull back. He has to pull back.
Once that castle goes up, he will lose that entire horse.
Yeah, he needs to
or
retreat.
he could attack the castle itself. No, never
Oh,
mind.
there he
Sorry.
goes. He's attacking the
Free
castle
murder.
itself.
Yeah, he needs to pull back. Pull back.
Wait. There
This
we
is
go.
a big win for Maniacal Rodent. Now he just needs to pull back.
He pulled
Save your
back.
army. Pull back. Get your siege weapons up. Nice. This is really well done for Maniacal Rodent. I
well
love the
done.
Berserker choice. Now I will say, just as a little side note for you Viking players, the supplies tech from the barracks does not help Berserker. That's only for the militia line. So if you're not going to build any militia, don't worry about supplies. But
I just want
Teutonic Knights also coming in.
that he immediately queued up those Teutonic Knights as soon as that castle came up. He had them going.
yeah.
He
Now,
definitely knew what he wanted to do.
and that's trouble for Maniacal Rodent because the Teutonic Knight is one of the best melee fighters in the game.
Agreed.
So whether it's they will slaughter the pikemen, even against the Berserker, the Teutonic Knight wins that handily. The
Having
question
said that,
is,
we're seeing the same effect we saw in the first set, or I'm sorry,
Right.
the second set with the Bulgarians versus the Teutons. Whereas yes, the Teutons will counter everything on the field, but you've got to have the eco to support them, or
Yeah.
slowly but surely they'll go down. And we see as soon as Maniacal Rodent gets to the Imperial Age, immediately those trebs get queued up.
yes. Maniacal Rodent knows what he's doing, and this is good. Now the only thing, and this is going to be big, especially if you're going to fight against Teutonic Knights, you need to get your blacksmith techs. And as I say it, iron casting coming in. I anticipate scale mail will probably be right behind it, and that's big.
I'd like to see Elite Berserk coming in as well as the second castle. We didn't mention this earlier when it happened because there was too much else going on. Lyle got his second town center up, and he is, or has produced from it at least.
At
he
one
is
point,
producing-
At one
Go
point,
ahead.
Maniacal Rodent had double the vill count of Lyle. I imagine that Lyle is perhaps beginning to turn it around.
right.
It may be too little too late.
It might
and
be.
credit to Maniacal Rodent as well for keeping the vill counts going. He has not stopped at 40 vills or 50 vills and said that's enough. He's moved on now to nearly 70 villagers. And if he keeps that going and booms up to 80 vills, 100 vills, he's going to be in a really, really good position.
I think it's interesting. Lyle has almost completed a wall all the way around using houses, and he's about to build stone wall to complete that last section there.
Trebuchet's unpacking, getting ready to unload.
This is big.
Right as
This
the
is
Imperial Age
big.
comes in.
This is
Wow.
massive. Now, careful, dude. Don't
Yeah, don't fight under there if you don't
fight
have to.
under the tower. You don't have to fight this. Just pull back, wait for the castle to go down, defend your trebs. Which it does look like that's what he's doing. The berserkers going in, and I think he's going to lose them.
Now Lyle is queuing
Takes
up
the knight down
trebs
with
of
him.
his own,
But no, it's
all
not fast
things
enough. It's
yeah,
not- he
all
might
things
get
being-
one out, but
And even if he does, maybe they trade castle for castle. But guess what? Maniacal can drop another 2, almost 3 castles.
yeah.
And Lyle can't even afford to fully repair the one he's got. The castle goes down. The treb does come out.
Lyle is
and
desperate.
if he is desperate, he has to know that this is the play.
I think we might have our first game 3 in this tournament.
I am so hoping that we do.
Yeah,
Well
not
played
because
on
we're cheering
both.
against Lyle, but just because we love to see these games where these foes look like they're evenly matched and they're going toe to toe against each other.
And who doesn't love a reverse sweep? I don't care who's on the other end. A reverse sweep, even if it's a best of 3 reverse sweep.
And there's another castle drop from
I
Maniacal.
love the option to be there.
Mhm.
Lyle buying stone for
Mhm.
gold. I think he
Right.
understands. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Maniacal's also
Supermud.
getting that last relic here, so he might not even need to use his army.
You are correct.
That's a very, very good point. Yeah, I mean, my instinct is to say, he's won. I don't know if he knows this, but he has wiped out Lyle's army. He's sitting at 79 army to Lyle's 1. The single trebuchet here, hiding in the corner. There is nothing stopping him from going in and destroying these army buildings. He's building skirmishers now. Well, he was. He cancels the skirms. I think it's too little too late for Lyle. I mean, you've only got, 1 stable, 1 archery range, 1 blacksmith, or I'm sorry, 1 barracks. I don't know how you build up with only 47 vills to his 72 and an army of 84 to 1.
He buys enough stone to drop a second castle. And remember, Lyle is in Imp. So he can, if he gets up enough, and he's got the wood and some gold, if he gets up enough trebs to cover, which I don't think he can do, but he doesn't know that, he might be able to fight it out. Having said that, the relic gold alone, hang the victory condition. With the relic gold alone, I'm sorry, he has all 5 relics. Is there a victory timer going off?
Do they may have forgotten to turn that on.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have
doesn't
made
look
a
like-
difference in this case, but we ought to make sure that it.
We'll have to make that note for the next game.
Trebuchets move up. They see the castle.
Yeah, but it
Trying to
doesn't.
think
So
they-
at this
Lyle
point,
unpacks his trebuchet
Wow.
and puts a wall in front of
you
it.
gotta love that. That's a
I
good
don't
move.
think that makes a
It
difference.
does. It
but
won't make
like
a difference. But man, that's nice.
The castle does go up.
Castle goes
It.
up.
Castle does go up.
Now, it's not going to be enough to stop this. I mean, I don't think Maniacal even has to pull back. I'm glad he does. It's good to preserve your army, but
I agree.
he
One
goes
thing I
fight
will
under that
say,
castle and win.
the reflex when you come into a force like that is to pull back. One thing you can always do is just go in deeper.
Yeah, just
you
go
know, you're already
further in,
past
yeah.
the castle. May as well go for the town center.
But here we have it now. The army moves back in. We have 1 knight out, but only 1 knight. It will go down quickly to chieftain empowered berserkers and pikemen. I was gonna say, as a side
Elite
note,
berserks. He did get the elite. I didn't see it come in, but he did get it.
yeah, this is well teched. Again, I am gonna say for Maniacal Rodent, make sure you're getting those blacksmith techs. He has hoardings coming in. There's the level 3 attack. Get your scale mail armor too. It's almost like he can hear me. He's going, oh yeah, I need those blacksmith techs. But at this point, with this number of pikemen and this number of berserkers, teched up as they are, there is nothing stopping him from just going into destroying the town centers. You don't even need the trebuchets. You can wipe it out. Just with the
Agreed.
army
You're
gun.
going to lose a few guys, but that town center will go down, and you
Yeah.
know, what are you going to do?
I've been talking about how the score can be deceptive, but at this point, if they have it on, if Maniacal Rodent is looking down and seeing he has 8,900 to Lyle's 4,300, that's a really good sign that you are dominating this game.
Especially at this stage in the game where you can no longer, or it's very difficult to, gain points from scouting, for instance, or for other
Right.
things. And when you see dramatic shifts, one side up, one side down,
Yep.
you know you're hitting him where it hurts.
Yep. This is well done from both players. I think in these two games, both Maniacal Rodent and Lyle the Kindly Viking have proven their mettle. They have proven that they have that competitive spirit. This is a well-matched set of opponents. But
Absolutely
this game is
agreed.
definitely for
This game was so good.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good win for Maniacal Rodent.
I have liked seeing Lyle go into the onagers. I said it before. I like seeing the siege from the Noob Cup because it's something that a lot of people are a little reluctant because of how expensive and how slow and how weak. But siege is a very powerful, a very potent force multiplier. Use it.
Yeah, that's the power of mangonels or scorpions. Is those the units where you can build one or two and knock out 20. You know, if you're dealing with a big army and you're desperate to find something to try to blow it up, siege weapons are often the way to go.
You
Just
do
one
have
of
to micro them a little bit. You can't just fire and forget.
Yeah.
But if you do, man, it's such a powerful. And look
Yeah.
at this. Maniacal is not even now. He's not stopping from producing from both. Let's check the third. From 2 castles, the berserk's just pouring out. I like it.
Now,
You know, he's not sitting back on his heels going, "Yeah, I've won this. I can just wrap it up." Nah,
Yeah.
man. He's just gonna churn out that horde.
Yep.
I find it funny. Lyle has positioned a single
Yeah.
villager with a single house in the very bottom corner of the map, holding on for dear life there.
I don't know if he's goofing around, memeing on us here or what, but this game is over. Well played to Maniacal Rodent. Well done. I got one question for you,
played.
Supermud. Is it a coincidence that Lyle is the Kindly Viking and he chose Vikings on game 1?
That is not a coincidence.
And here we
He
have
very specifically chose Vikings because, well, it was almost a both way kind of thing where he really likes the Vikings in Age of Empires, and he also really likes Lyle the Kindly Viking as a character.
Yep.
And so it kind of fit there. He chose both, and there's the GG.
And then we have game 2, proving in both sets Vikings are a powerful civ. But that doesn't take away from the players behind the keyboards. Maniacal Rodent, in dominating fashion, winning game 2. Really, really well done. And like you said, Jonathan, I'll just highlight that point. I really applaud Maniacal Rodent in continuing to produce even when it felt like, and he was right, but even when it felt like I've already got this game, I've won, I don't need to produce more, he's doing it anyway. Booming up to 75 villagers and 100 army, that's really good. That is a really solid performance. That's game 2. Let's move on to our first game 3 in the AoE2 Noob Cup. And here we are in the final match of this quarterfinal set between Maniacal Rodent and Lyle the Kindly Viking. Game 3. We have Maniacal Rodent playing as the Goths in the green against Lyle the Kindly Viking playing as the Britons in the orange. Now I'm forgetting, Hiram. Is this the first time we've seen the Britons in this tournament?
It is, I believe, as well as the Goths.
Yeah.
No, I take that
No,
back.
the Goths we have seen.
We saw the Goths before,
from,
I think it is the first time we've seen the Britons.
Corner Spider, yeah. But it is the first time for the Britons. This, in my opinion, is a fascinating matchup. On the one hand, the Britons are a classic civilization for Age of Empires. It is a civ that a lot of players enjoy playing. The bonus that you get to your archers, where you get +1 range, I believe starting in the feudal age, is that right? It's +1 in feudal, +1 in castle? No, it is +1 in castle and +1 in imperial.
+1 imperial.
It gives you a very powerful, perhaps even oppressive archer horde in the castle age and in the imperial age. So very, very, very strong archers. On the other hand, we have Maniacal Rodent playing as the Goths, and the Goths, on top of their infantry bonuses, which I mentioned in the previous set, the Goths get cheaper infantry in each age. So by the time you reach the Imperial Age, you are able to churn out hordes of infantry much more efficiently than other civilizations can, cost efficiently anyway. But on top of that, their unique unit is the Huskarl, which is a good infantry unit, like a swordsman, with lots and lots and lots of pierce armor. And so a lot of people consider the Goths the ultimate anti-archer civilization. So if Lyle decides to go all in on archers, and then if Maniacal Rodent responds with Huskarls, we might be in for a bad time for the Britons player. Then again,
Exactly so.
you know, it just kind of depends on how it plays out. And once again, as you've mentioned several times, Hiram, it is much more about the players behind the keyboard than it is the civs they choose. So we'll see how this plays out.
Agreed. Now, I don't think you choose the Britons if you're not planning, at least at this level, if you're not planning on going longbowmen. And considering that Lyle's been pretty good about putting out unique units, I think that there's a good chance we'll see at least an attempt towards a longbow horde. Conversely, I don't think you choose the Goths unless you want to go Huskarl. So, I mean, not at this level. Players do.
Maybe. Maybe. Okay. Possibly. I think we have seen in both of the previous games, the players recognize their unique units. You know, that they're aware of it. They want to use them. That we saw back in the first game. We saw Huskarl, and we saw what was it that who did Maniacal Rodent play in the first game? I know in the second game we saw Huskarl from Maniacal Rodent.
Vietnamese.
Yeah, we saw Rattan archers in game 1.
Yeah.
In game 2, we saw Huskarl from Maniacal Rodent, and we saw Teutonic Knights from Lyle. So I think here in game 3, I would be surprised if we don't see Longbowmen or and Huskarl. I imagine we're going to see both.
I agree. And I think both of them, one of the things that needs to be mentioned about both Civ is while both have a pretty direct line into what of bonuses into what kind of units they're going to want to go late game. Britons, of course, they get archer bonuses, and they generally want to go archers, and Goths infantry. But they also have a decent eco bonus. You have the Britons; they gather food from sheep faster, 20% faster. So 5 Britons on sheep equals 6 Goths on sheep.
I was about to mention that. That's right. Yeah.
Conversely, you have Goths, they have better attack versus boar, and they carry more, so they're more efficient in moving back and forth. So you have some hunting advantages for the Goths, and I think between the two of them, especially at this level, you can kind of play that and see which is technically more efficient. But at this level, I think they're going to balance each other out pretty well.
No, one of the things I want to highlight, because this is a really cool tip for newer players. One thing I love that Lyle did, you may have seen that when he had the one villager moving out to lure the boar, he had the other villagers who were sitting around doing nothing. He put them onto trees so that they were doing something, getting some wood together while he waited for the boar to come up. On the other hand, what villagers cannot do is carry multiple types of resources at the same time. So you can't hold wood and food together. So what he needed to do, and I don't believe he did this, was after he killed the boar, take your villagers with all the wood in their pockets, take those villagers and have them drop the wood off at the town center quickly before moving on to the boar. Because otherwise, the wood that's in their pockets just gets lost. Right? And here we have Lyle building a house in anticipation of getting housed. Good for him. Let me move back over to...
I believe is that a mill? I believe that's a mill that he's building
is
there.
that right? Oh. Well,
I also wanted to hear,
shows what I
what's your opinion on the map?
I was actually about to ask you that, Maniacal, because I'm Supermud, because I knew that as we were setting up, you were saying, "Boy, this is a cool map right here." What are you seeing with this map? What's your read on the map?
Well, I just think it's really cool that there's all that food out there accessible for villagers to be fishing.
Right.
Like I haven't seen that on a map before, having those fish available on almost like the land like that.
Right.
I also think it's a really cool divide there.
Yeah.
And it's just very unique.
What we're going to see map-wise, there are 2 features that you've highlighted that are worth talking about. The first is all of the fish, right? Remember, the fastest way to gather food in the game is through fish. So a lot of times on a lot of maps, that is mitigated somewhat by the fact that you have villagers, they have to walk all the way out to the shore fish, collect the fish, and then walk all the way back to the dock or the mill or whatever, right? But in this case, with this map, you could pop a mill down right here, and then They can just go bam, 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 and collect all of that food very quickly. It gives a massive influx of food right out of the gate. As we have both players going up to the feudal age, good timings from both players. You can tell Maniacal and Lyle have both done their research heading into this tournament. This is well played for both of them. The food is the first thing. That is a nice opportunity. They may not take advantage of it, and it's okay if they don't. But that is a thing that's out there. The other thing that I think we are seeing because of all of these little lakes is there are natural choke points.
Yeah.
That you'll be filtering armies back and forth through in order to attack each other, and there's a possibility that they may be fighting for those control of those choke points.
The other thing to mention is it does, while it looks like the islands are divided, they're really not. You can walk from pretty much any point on one to the other in an almost straight line. You have to do a little redirect, but not much. So one of the things that the players might be thinking is, I can't wall. You've got to wall off my whole island. No, you don't. Wall off your little base anyway and leave a section exposed if you have to. I'm not seeing the house walls coming in for either one of them. I do notice that Maniacal, he tends to build his houses in clusters, and I understand why. I do the same thing, or I did the same thing for a long time. But if you're already going to spend that wood, you might as well spend it in a place where the houses do something other than sit there.
Yeah, exactly.
Stretch them around.
Right. You ask the question, like, you know, if you're going to have a Vil walk all the way over here and build these houses there, why not have him build the house right there instead and just block off that potential, you know, raiding path for your enemy? Block it off there. Why not put the houses together like this, string it along to your barracks, and all of a sudden, you know you're safe from attack on this side, which is where most of your economy is. So it's one of those things where it's a cool opportunity to kill two birds with one stone. You know, even though the houses, especially with the latest patch, they aren't the best wall in the world, but it gives you something, some sense of awareness and warning before, you know, you have a raid come in and start attacking your villagers. So
well, and again, it's not as much about building a wall that your enemy can't get through, or even one that's hard for your enemy to get through, but putting your house in a place where it does something other than sit there.
Right. It gives you some warning. It gives you some time to react. Whether that's, you know, building behind the house just to, you know, try to block off the hole, or get an army up, or get an army moving in the right direction. It does something.
We saw in the last game the value of the early warning when he attacked that outpost. The house can serve as kind of a mini multi-purpose outpost in that regard.
I want to highlight idle TC times were almost identical. We do have a little bit of extra idle TC coming in for Lyle now. Maniacal Rodent has picked up Wheelbarrow, and Lyle is queuing it up now. So again, both players are on those ecotechs. I love that. These are strong players. This is a good battle.
And I like that villager count there.
Yeah,
seeing that Lyle is it's either that Maniacal's not doing so as well as the past couple games on villagers, or that Lyle's doing a little better. It's much closer this round.
So far, it's much closer, and the question is going to be: does Lyle trim up that idle TC time this game compared to the last one? If he does, I think the economy will be much closer. You know, if he lets the TC hang, then we will once again see that eco shift in Maniacal Rodent's
If Lyle can keep the TC going, then I think that not only is he going to close that gap, I think he's going to reverse it, because he's been good in the last two games. We've seen him drop a second TC, which is not something we always see at this level, and produce out of both TCs. So if he does, if he both closes down the idle TC time and drops a second one, not only will he close that gap, he's going to gap Maniacal on the other end. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm excited.
Once again, balance for the economies are great on both sides. You know, the priority is on food and wood. I think you're going to want, for these two players, assuming that they play the way we expect, Maniacal Rodent, he's going to be going infantry. So you want to focus on food and gold if you're building, whether that's men-at-arms or Huskarl. Now, if you're going to mass Spearman again, as it looks like he is, then food and wood is your priority. But, once again, my advice for future games, Maniacal, win or lose, is just as a general all-arounder, focus on your militia line instead. Build the swordsman, not the spearman. But if you are going to go spearman, food and wood is the correct priority. For Lyle, since he is playing as the Britons, and we're assuming he's got a spearman horde up as well. But if the long-term game plan is to go archers, you want wood and gold, because you're going to be massing archers, and that's what archers cost. So that's what I would want to be seeing eco-wise, and I think just overall the balance is pretty good for both players.
I agree. I think I also want to point this out now because I don't really know what Lyle's going to do. He's favored a mix so far.
Mm-hmm.
While the Britons are classically considered an archer civilization and a lot of the bonuses are slated towards that, they have respectable infantry, they have respectable cavalry, and they have pretty decent siege as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not terribly weak in any one regard, and it is entirely possible. Some players even prefer to do this, to start with infantry or cavalry, try to force the opponents into a counter pick build, and then spam the longbowman or the crossbowman on the back end of that.
It's possible. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is a possibility for sure. One thing I do want to highlight is Lyle, even though Maniacal has the stronger economy, Lyle is about to tech up into Castle Age. He almost has the food for it. I'm guessing that he goes into Castle Age as soon as he hits 800. He has the resources now.
He already has a villager on stone, which is good. I like to see that.
Yep. So they're probably both thinking about trying to get castles down as soon as they can. And if it becomes a Huskarl versus Longbow fight, the win will go to the Huskarl, unless, of course, one of them forgets the blacksmith upgrades, the other one gets the blacksmith upgrades. Right now, neither one is really teched into those techs, so we'll see how that plays out.
Now, I want to point out one of the reasons Lyle has gotten the food, even though he's not used it to tech up yet, has that food gap is because he's not built as many villagers. We saw that gap being close before, but he's housed again, and that build gap is beginning to open a little bit.
Yeah, and once again, we see the idle TC time, kind of booming up for Lyle here, which last game at least definitely worked in Maniacal Rodent's favor. We do see Maniacal now going into the Castle Age, and so I think right now he may have the edge.
And he's getting the scale barding armor, and I don't really know what he intends to do with that. You do get okay cav, and he has built some scouts, so maybe he just wants to use them. But if he sends those scouts in to try to raid against the spearman horde, that's not going to play out well.
I almost predict. I predict that he wants that because he wants to go raiding with scouts. Now, assuming he wants to go raiding with scouts, this is an interesting dynamic because a lot of times when you're dealing with people will ask sometimes, what blacksmith tech should I prioritize? If you are going to mass archers, you want the attack and the range bonuses that come with fletching before you concern yourself with the archer armor, right? But with melee units, the priority is most of the time, is making sure that they can get into range to do their damage. So whether you're talking infantry or cavalry, a lot of times it's the armor that you want to prioritize before the attack upgrades. Having said that, if your game plan is, I want to build scouts and I want to get into the enemy's base and kill villagers, and I'm hoping they won't even have an army to stop me, I'm just going to swoop in and kill a bunch of vills, then the attack upgrade might be more important because you want to kill villagers faster, and you're not expecting a lot of resistance through those armor techs. So we have Maniacal Rodent. He's queuing up the eco techs, which is fantastic. This is really important.
He's also got the infantry armor, which I like to see.
Right.
Both players doing a little bit of a mix. We have Lyle, who is upgrading both his infantry and his archers, and we have Maniacal
We see
Rodent.
the tier 2 archer. So this tells me, with Bodkin Arrow coming in, I'm hoping that means he has a long-term game plan of going into probably Longbowman. I'm guessing he wants to throw Castle down and mass out Longbowman.
I think we're going to see a very tight play at which the first one to drop and get up a castle is going to have the significant advantage, because at this stage the castle still outranges everything. Later on, when you get to fully upgraded longbowmen, the longbowmen actually outrange the castle, but at this stage in the game there's nothing that outranges the castle. So if Maniacal can get a castle, if he can drop it down and get it up, then that's going to be huge for him. If he can't, and Lyle drops it first, Maniacal's going to have a hard time getting an answer up to deal with both getting close enough to that castle to knock it down and dealing with whatever archers it looks like Lyle's going to bring to bear.
I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but I see that Maniacal has placed a scout cavalry right down in the center of the water there.
That's
maybe
smart.
that is to watch and see if Lyle's approaching.
Agreed.
I bet you that's exactly what that scout is for.
Now
If he's not going on the attack, that's what it is. He wants to make sure. Ooh, speaking of, here we go. He's moving them. Why? What do you want to do with those scouts? What's the game plan here?
Both are continuing to tech into Spearmen. It seems like a reflex play for both players, and one that I understand. Maniacal drops the first castle foundation, and he's building it with one villager. It'll probably go up, almost certainly. I want to highlight the
Lyle
gold
there?
difference. I'm sorry, yeah.
I think that's a very defensive play there, placing that castle right on the edge.
But I think it's a good play.
Lyle with a monastery up and a monk coming out already. Guessing he wants to go for the relics. Maniacal Rodent has a monastery and one relic already in, but it looks at the same time like he has stopped collecting any of the others. Let's see. Yeah, the only other relic Maniacal Rodent sees is the one in the middle and then the one on Lyle's side. Lyle, for his part, let me move over there. Lyle is moving out to capture the neutral relic first. I like that. That's the way I like to play. Yeah. I love fighting for the middle before getting my own.
Scouts are going to move and cover it. Maybe?
Oh. Can he? Hold on.
Does he see it?
He does see it. He sees it. Now, is that close enough for them to... First off, will they automatically attack the monk? Second, will he see it and decide to react? Here it comes.
Oh, he's out of range.
Just out of range.
Another monk.
If the monk tries to convert the scout, oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh
I'm on
no.
the edge of my seat.
Monk versus monk. He's gonna.
What's going on here?
Oh no. He's seen. He's seen. Oh no. The scouts surely move in. And... Hey, bud. How's it going?
Doesn't look like either player notices.
Homoisis or homoisis. All right, I'm on here. And here come the scouts. Yeah, there we go.
Scouts, yep.
There they go.
Monk down. And that, I think, just about guarantees a relic advantage for Maniacal Rodent. Because I think he doesn't see the third relic or the second relic on his own side. Wait a minute, where did it go? It's right here. There it is. Yeah, he doesn't see the third relic yet, but I doubt that Lyle is going to be able to swing around and grab that.
Right. Second town center coming in for Lyle, like we talked about. This is something that he's done very well, and I want to commend him on that. Getting up to that castle age, dropping that second. If you can keep both TCs going, or even a third TC, dominate that eco.
Right. That gives you a big advantage.
It translates to a win often. Now, you can go too far. You know, you can build 5 TCs and put so much food into villagers that when the time comes, you don't have any answer for the military that's brought to bear. So don't take it too far. But 2 TCs is better than 1, almost always. Almost.
Is this a raid? I don't know. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. But, you know, kind of on that theme, you know, I would certainly much rather, speaking to Maniacal Rodent here, I would certainly much rather be where he is, where he's got 1 town center and he keeps it going, than building 2 town centers or 3 town centers and having them just sit around doing nothing, right? So he's doing great, but there's an opportunity where if you're this good on 1 town center, what if you build a second town center and you can keep them both going? Now, all of a sudden, you're producing villagers twice as fast, your economy booms up even faster, and you're able to get out a larger army, replenish that army even faster. There's a great opportunity there for multiple town centers.
Exactly so. Now, looking at their militaries, we see 24 to 25 pikemen with relatively similar upgrades. So, I like that.
Anarchy coming in for Maniacal. Anarchy lets him build Huskarls at the barracks.
I think that's a really good play.
It is a good play. Now, what I would want to see is, and he's done a good job of producing multiple production buildings, throw down, you're sitting on 3,000 wood. throw down 3 or 4 more barracks, and then you can just churn out those Huskarls. If that's your plan, to mass Huskarls, then go ahead and get down multiple production buildings so you can really get them out quickly.
Second tier infantry armor coming in before the second tier infantry.
Longbows
and
coming in
cavalry
for
attack.
Lyle.
Longbows and knights coming in for Maniacal. This is if they were to both go to a knockdown drag out fight in the middle, I really don't know who would win. I think my impulse is to say Lyle would. It's a little easier to redirect archers because of the range than it is cavalry. And if you do have those spearmen at the front to both try to intercept the cavalry brought to bear, there's an anti-cav on the scene to go against Maniacal's cav, but there's not an anti-archer on the scene to go against
the archers are going to be great against pikemen.
Agreed.
And I think he's got enough now to where he's got a good meat shield of pikemen, a wall to keep the pikemen off of his own archers, and then those archers can fire in on the pikes. And I think Lyle has the advantage here.
Now, if Maniacal would start going into Huskarls, Huskarls will do really well against everything Lyle has on the field right now.
Yeah, right now I think Lyle has the advantage, and I want to credit Lyle on this too, where he's focused on 2 units. 1 unit is a gold unit, 1 unit is a trash unit, and using those 2 together is a powerful combination. That's fantastic. Having said that, I agree with you that if Maniacal Rodent goes heavy into Huskarls, all of a sudden that changes. And now the Huskarl beats the pikeman, the Huskarl beats the longbowman. And what does Lyle do in that situation? Well, you need to build infantry of your own, swordsmen of your own to counter Huskarl, or knights is an option as well. But right now he doesn't have anything like that on the field.
Now Lyle is going into Imperial, so is Maniacal, but Lyle will get there first.
Does Lyle do what Maniacal did last time and mass up Trebuchet? And go on the offense. Does he recognize the importance of having 4 or 5 trebs, or does he produce 1 and stop there? I do predict, based on what we saw last game, he will queue up a treb as soon as he hits Imperial. The question for me is it just 1 or 2, or does he really go for it?
Right. Now, again, a lot will come down to who takes the fight in the center. One of the things that will work very well against the archers, if they can get the shots off, is the mangonels Maniacal has. They're a little too far back to get into the fight quickly enough, but maybe. He also has 4 barracks. And if he can start producing out of them, he is producing out of at least one of them.
Yeah. And Lyle queues up 2 trebuchets as soon as he goes into the Imperial Age.
Good.
Just as predicted.
Good. What he should do, because he's still working on longbowmen, he should clear up these longbowmen and just immediately get the trebs out, like right away. As soon as you hit Imperial, get the trebs out.
Some Huskarls coming in for Maniacal.
Okay.
He's beginning to queue them up in his castle, and I like that. He also, they both have a relatively similar amount of villagers on gold, so they'll both be able to produce a lot of guys. However, Maniacal's backline eco is still stronger than Lyle's. He will be able to outproduce as it stands right now.
Another relic coming in from Maniacal.
And it was one of his opponent's relics. So he still has the relic on his island that he has not yet discovered. I hope he does.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. We have, for Lyle, he does see 1 relic, on his side. I'm surprised he hasn't moved over to pick that up yet. For that matter, he actually sees the relic in Maniacal's base.
Second castle coming in for Maniacal.
Multiple barracks. This is exactly what you want to see as a Goth player. Lots of barracks. You are set up to pump out infantry. Now, having said that, again, I want to see Huskarl. I want to see swordsman, one or the other, or maybe even both. You can mix it up. But the pikemen, I still just think this is the main takeaway for both players. Unless you see knights, unless you're anticipating cavalry, you don't need all these pikemen. Switch over to...
Just because you've got all the resources to float, you might as well spend them. And selling only gets you so far. So I wouldn't mind 1 barracks that's just cranking out the pikemen. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe you need something. But have at least 1 barracks churning out your unit. You're the Goths. Build the Huskarls. And I don't know if he realizes that he can produce the Huskarls. I know he researched Anarchy, but I don't know if he realizes he can produce Huskarls from the barracks, which might be why.
And I don't know. I get the sense from some of these players where there is a temptation for new players to see techs and think, well, techs are good, I'll get techs. I don't actually know what they do. I'm just going to grab them. And this comes with experience. It comes with time. But you want to take the time to research, what do these technologies actually do for me? Because sometimes a tech is completely useless. Supplies, like in that last game, supplies does nothing for you if you're not going to build a single, militia line unit.
Correct.
If you're not going to produce Huskarl out of your barracks, don't research Anarchy.
You are correct. But we are seeing the, and again, I don't know if, never mind. We're seeing the Cavalier upgrade come in. Since you've got all those knights, I kind of like it. I don't know if knights or Cavaliers is the right choice into this comp that has a decent amount of pikemen in it. But as long as you've got them, yeah, that's definitely worth upgrading. I would like to see more Huskarls.
We do see Maniacal Rodent just a second ago research Perfusion. Perfusion doubles the work rate of your barracks. So that means if he's going to be pumping out even more pikes, if he's pumping out Huskarl from those barracks, they're going to come out faster, which is pretty cool.
Now, Lyle's about to drop his third town center. And we're looking at, if you look at the eco difference, yes, Maniacal does have a slight lead, but he doesn't have a massive lead.
I was about to mention that. Yeah, kudos to Lyle. He's keeping the Vil count much closer this game than the last one. And we have 4 trebuchets now for Lyle, no trebuchets for Maniacal. And I'll tell you this too.
I was about to mention that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm interested to see how this fight plays out, seeing that Maniacal does have a lot more units, by about 30 or 40 there, but Lyle does have those trebuchets. I'm wondering, like, if they're both going on the more cautious side of putting out a very large army before heading out, or what's going on there. I'm interested to see if Lyle is gonna move, or if Maniacal's gonna move. Who's gonna move first here?
Yeah. Warwolf is coming in for the Britons for Lyle. And for those of you who don't know, what Warwolf does is it makes your trebuchets do blast damage. Where normally, the projectile, it's not terribly accurate. It has kind of an area that it can hit within, and it has to hit directly on a unit to deal damage. But with Warwolf, it damages everything within an area. So if you use it to target groups of units, like, say, a giant horde of pikemen or halbs standing around, you can do a lot of damage to units with a treb that you can't normally do.
Yeah, I was going to make that point where I was about to say you can't really use trebs in a unit versus unit battle. 9 times out of 10, they're really not good for that. But Warwolf Briton trebuchets may be the exception to that rule, where because they do the blast damage, you can get some value out of slinging rocks into a horde of halberdier.
A couple mangonels coming out for Maniacal.
Maniacal is on the move. He's staging towards the center. If
Lyle,
he moves too far close to that castle, he's going to lose very hard.
Yeah, right. One thing I want to point out too, both players have done very well with their blacksmith techs. Lyle has researched the Imperial Age armor for his infantry, and the Imperial Age attack is coming in right now. And the Goth player only has access to Castle Age armor, which Maniacal has, but then he has stopped with iron casting. He has not picked up his tier 3 attack. So pound for pound, the Briton halberdier will do more damage than the Goth halberdier, but then the Goth halberdier is cheaper for the Goths and will come out faster, so they'll replenish much more readily.
I don't know if Maniacal has realized he's in the Imperial Age. He could be putting out, he's got more than enough wood, he's got more than enough gold, and he's got castles that aren't producing.
We have a fight happening here.
Looks like Maniacal's moving out now.
Yeah. Lyle can see Maniacal. Maniacal can't see Lyle.
Interesting.
This is the key here is going to be. I'm looking at these longbows. How effective are they in wiping out Halberdier?
Now, we also see Maniacal. He's at pop limit. He has hit pop limit. He cannot build anything else. And he only has 76 bills, so most of that is in military.
Right.
Right now,
They have nearly tied up the eco. That is virtually tied.
Wow. Interesting to see Maniacal quickly pulls back.
Mm-hmm.
He loses a couple units, but he's really pulled back his larger forces.
Cavalier are moving around to the side. Fascinating. Is he going to go for some kind of flank
Trebuchets
attack?
are unpacking, ready to deal with the Horde. That was not an accidental Warwolf upgrade. He's going to use them, and he might use them effectively.
Oh, we'll see. We will see. I also want to point out, not only, and Lyle has taken the villager lead. Incredible. And not only that, but the eco balances are almost identical.
Yeah.
You almost have the exact amount on wood, similar amounts on food, the same amount on gold. More stone for Lyle. I would love to see him drop another castle, maybe inch a castle forward a little bit, claim some of the central ground, and start producing even more longbows. Archers are the right play here.
Yeah.
Looks like Maniacal's bringing out some trebs, trying to get that castle.
Yep.
Now here's the
Treb
deal.
for Treb.
Yeah. Now Lyle has 6 trebs ready to go. He can take his 6 trebs and attack, the 2 trebs that the rodent has brought to the table. But he's got to make sure to have the halberdier ready, just in case there might be some knights, as indeed there are.
And here's that first battle coming in.
Yep, okay, onagers go down. That's the power of British longbows. They can outrange those onagers. Trebuchet goes down handily. And now the fight begins in earnest. They will take out Trebs, but or will they? He's focused on the longbows. And the longbows putting in work.
Wow.
Oh, Lyle is winning this thing. And Maniacal doesn't really know what to do with the knights. I think wisely he's thinking, I've lost this battle, so let me get pressure somewhere else. Let me see if I can do some raiding, do some vill kills. Maybe I can make something happen here. One battering ram. This goes back to the previous game between Teblap and Corner Spider. It's why you want to build, like, if you're going to do battering rams, get 4 or 5, because one can be, just like that. Go ahead.
Maniacal comes around the back with his Cavalier, taking out some of the economy there for Lyle.
Yeah.
That's definitely going to be a
This hurts.
hit.
This hurts a lot. The good thing is, for Lyle, he's got multiple town centers. He can replenish those numbers pretty effectively. The
And he's
question
bringing
I've
out
got,
his longbowmen to
Yeah.
attack those
Yeah.
Cavaliers. I'm not sure if they will be effective enough, seeing as the Cavaliers are faster.
Yeah, and the Britons do not get thumb ring, is it thumb ring or is it ballistics?
They don't.
They do get ballistics. So Lyle should get ballistics in the university. If you're going to go archers, you want ballistics. But they don't get thumb rings, so there is a certain inaccuracy built into Briton archers. Those Cavalier that force is wiped out, and I don't think he only killed 14 vills, which is good, better than 0, but I don't think it was enough. Now, what Lyle needs to do, because Maniacal can pump out those pikes so readily, Lyle needs to go on the offense now. He has an advantage, and it looks like he is going to go for it. There's a trebuchet sitting there, pulling back.
I like that move. I'm not sure if he's going to use those trebs against the castle or if he's going to go against the halberdiers.
Yeah.
It looks like Maniacal's dropping down another castle. I like that move.
Yeah.
It really secures that defensive line.
Well, I
But I
like
think
it
Lyle's
too,
win
or I would
this
have liked it.
Fight here.
But if Lyle wins this fight, then those trebs will be able to take down both castles very quickly, and so it might feel like a waste of stone. If the archers can... Here, look at this fight. Okay, the Cavalier they took out a treb, but they went
And
down
we
before
have
they could do any
Soldier
more.
Skulls coming in, but is it enough? I don't think it's enough.
Yeah. If we had had a mass of... Now, it looks like he might be... What do we have? Do we have more Huskarl? Nah, he's going Halberdier.
That first castle goes down. He's
And
aiming
Castle
for
1
that
goes down.
second castle.
Trebuchet will go down. Castle
Wow.
2 is not long for this world.
Sad but true. I hope Maniacal realizes that he can produce
Yeah.
Huskarls out of the barracks, because if he doesn't, I
And-
think this game will be over.
And if you're not playing the Goths, what do you do in this situation? Well, if you're facing pikemen and longbowmen, skirmishers have bonuses against both units. Right? So if you mass loads and loads and loads of skirmishers, no, it's not infantry and you are the Goths, but that's an option for you as well. Now,
Both
one thing he
castles
is
are
doing,
down
maybe
now.
it's an accident, battering rams have lots of pierce armor. So what a lot of people will do is send battering rams in to absorb the arrow fire and then go at them with... Yeah, look at this. Even just these 5 Huskarl will... Look at this. Look at this.
Oh my word!
Look at this. That is the power of the Huskarl right there. I'm over here thinking Lyle's about to win this game, and you know, whatever it was, like 6 Huskarl show up, and all of a sudden, this game is turned around.
More
Battering rams
Huskarls
coming in to
coming in.
destroy the trebuchet. What a move! This game is not over.
And it
Not
looks
by
like
a long shot.
Lyle took out
Maniacal. Go
both
ahead.
castles. Lyle
Yeah.
took out both castles, which is really, really good for him. But it looks like in the end, Maniacal's going to just defeat that force that Lyle has put together.
Not only that, he's got the ability now. He's got the rams and he's got the ability to put out trebs. He can go forward and knock down this castle where it stands.
And if he knocks down that one castle, I mean, Lyle has 2,500 stone in the bank, but it doesn't do anything in the bank. He should have more castles out so he can produce more longbows quickly. Longbows are a great idea, but now he also needs a response to Huskarl, because I think the rodent has realized that, you know, Huskarl are just the perfect counter to a longbow horde.
I
So
hope he has.
Lyle needs knights, or he needs not pikemen, but you know, swordsmen to deal with those Huskarl, and I don't know if he's going to recognize it in time. He is
Looks
building
like
the
he's
second
dropping down
castle.
Another castle.
Good, good.
I find it interesting that both players in all 3 games so far have not really gone at all into the militia line.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I will say this. I do want to maybe balance my earlier commentary. Going all in into pikemen is not a bad idea if you have, not just against cavalry and that kind of thing, but if you need a meat shield, if you need a wall to protect archers or something like that. To have one unit be a trash unit and one unit be your gold unit is a pretty good move. Just as a general rule of thumb, like if you are doing that. But don't count on pikemen to be your power unit. They are a support unit for your archers. And in a situation like this, you need to be ready to transition into infantry in case you go up against the Huskarl. So that's what I don't like here is, you know, again, Rodent is sort of prioritizing the pikes, which they are cheaper, they produce faster, but you do have the mass, which is great. But
It looks like Rodent's about to come in and go for that castle with his trebs.
yeah, now he's going on offense. Losing some halberdier, kind of throwing them away, but
Lyle completing a wall around his economy. I like that.
I like it too. It keeps him from being raided, but it's not going to help against a full frontal assault.
No, especially not when backed with trebuchets and rams. Those houses,
Oh yeah.
they'll go down in seconds.
Monks are cool. They aren't going to help that much against an infantry horde.
And what we're
converting
seeing
one
here is the
halberdier
power
won't
of the Goth spam, is what it's called. You know, you can win a fight, you can win 2 fights, but they have the ability to just churn out so many units so quickly that you have to keep the pressure on.
Lyle moving out with villagers, presumably to take out the trebuchets. I think he's feeling desperate at this point. What do I do against these halberdier?
And it doesn't look like Maniacal realized it. No, he does.
Yeah, he realized it, but
he
he-
halbs up.
He's still going to win this fight, but he is going to
Yeah.
lose more trebs than he had to.
And I
That's
think
absolutely
this
true.
might be game, seeing as Lyle does not have any more army.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is correct.
So he has
Lyle
no
does
more
have
army.
yeah.
He's building a castle in the back, which is good. I would have left that up earlier, but you have a castle up. He wants to get back into longbow production.
He's churning out Cavalier, but you're turning out cavalry to deal with an anti-cavalry horde. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
I understand. I respect the do something nature. The best thing, what he could churn out, is infantry. If you've upgraded your militia line, infantry will counter Huskarls. They will counter Halbs, and they will counter siege. So,
and I want to break this down. You can figure this out by looking at the numbers. If you look at the Huskarl, it has a pierce armor of 8 plus 2 because the rodent is on his blacksmith upgrades. So he's got 10 pierce armor, which means if you're doing 11, if your arrow has 11 damage, you're only doing 1 damage to that unit. So basically nothing. But the Huskarl only has 0 base melee armor, right? So that's why they are weak to melee units, whether that's swordsmen or knights. The pikeman likewise only has 2 melee armor, 0 base melee armor. So attacking with arrows at this point against Huskarl is a really bad idea, but going in with melee would destroy both of these units. Now, cavalry would be a bad idea against Halberdier, but if he had swordsmen up, he could be wiping out Maniacal's entire army. Alas, it does seem like, Lyle, it felt for a second like he might have had it. At the last second, Maniacal Rodent pulls out the Huskarls, and now it seems like a win for Maniacal Rodent.
I don't see a clear road to victory back for Lyle.
Yeah.
Having said that, he's got enough resources that if he can hold on for a little while, if he were to drop 3 barracks right now, and churn out militia line in 2 and upgrades for the militia line in 1, it might be enough. I doubt it, but
if he knew exactly what to do, then he might have just barely enough time to try to fight for this. Although even then, even if he could, activate a cheat code and delete Maniacal's entire army, it's 28 vills to 76 vills at this point.
You're not wrong, and again, there's not much of a path to victory left.
One thing to be aware of, by the way, the Onager, or the Mangonel, the catapulter, is one of the only units in the game that can do friendly fire damage. So be careful about where you're shooting with your Mangonels, because you can actually kill your own units if you attack something too close to your own people.
And remember, as the infantry field manual says, friendly fire isn't.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It does not feel good.
Are trebuchets also something that can do friendly fire?
No.
Typically, no. I don't know if Warwolf and the blast damage makes a difference there. It might, but by default, no.
Interesting.
Now, trebuchets can take down trees. You can use them to knock down trees.
Yes, that's another cool thing with onagers as well, is you can cut paths through trees and forests and make roads for your armies to go through. But now, this game truly is over. Lyle has 4 villagers left. I think we're going to expect the GG any second now. Or who knows, maybe Lyle decides to build a cute little Britain house in the corner.
Again,
I was about to say, will Phil live
there.
happily ever after?
Yeah, we have a
there
cute
they
little
are.
family. They've got a
Successful fishing
house.
business.
They got a dock.
I got a successful fishing business there.
Yeah, and there's the GG.
There we go.
And Maniacal Rodent moving on to the semifinals, winning our first Game 3 in the AoE2 Noob Cup. What an incredible set.
Well done. Both of you, well done.
I've said it for
Really
every
good
set
match.
so far, but really for you guys, congratulations to both of you. Well fought by both players. Extremely well done.
That was a wonderful game.
A wonderful game, a wonderful series. Way to, just bring your A game into this tournament. I got to give credit for the economy management from both players, from the blacksmith management from both players, relic gathering from both players. I mean, across the board, I think really, really well done. I think when it comes to areas for improvement, the only things I can think of are there are potential weaknesses when it comes to getting raided. I think there are opportunities to raid Maniacal Rodent here. There were opportunities to raid Lyle as as Maniacal Rodent took advantage of. Also, again, I think the main thing is I'm a little concerned about the massing of pikemen. They can be very easily countered by a much smaller force of swordsmen. You know, you take 10 swordsmen and they can wipe out 30 spearmen. You know, and there's just there's a big danger there moving into your future games. But incredible showing, incredible performance. Hiram, what did you think about all this?
I think you called it. It was so tight back and forth because there was that one fight on the river where for a moment I thought, oh boy, here it is. Maniacal Rodent's about to get his face get kicked in, and he was getting his face kicked in. And then just a few Huskarls, you know, I said before that I would have liked to see more, but as it was, 5 isn't going to be able to do that much. Well, apparently I'm wrong. 5 can do quite a lot.
I was wrong too.
Because it pushed back that entire horde, and since that was really the backbone of Lyle's force, it went from one direction to the other to back to the one so quickly. I loved it. It's a testament to both players. The Vil production was pretty neck and neck for a lot of the game. It went back and forth several times, and I love it when that happens because it means you don't have just one clearly superior player who's just doing better here. You guys were vying for it in different ways. Maniacal keeping the one TC going with pretty solid regularity, and then Lyle with multiple TCs that, maybe they're idled 30, each one is idled 30% of the time, but it still equates to the same number of villagers. So just a good game all around.
Supermud, do you have any advice for Maniacal Rodent moving on? You know, as a fellow contestant, I mean, what did you think about these games, and what are you looking forward to, you know, moving ahead?
Absolutely. I really did like all these games. This last one specifically was wonderful. I really liked the close matchup. Kudos to Lyle for getting that villager count up. I think that was one thing that he was struggling with during the first couple games there, but this last one he really did well there. For Maniacal, I would say getting those houses placed a little bit more efficiently. Sure, placing them in blocks is simple, and that's something that a lot of us do, but Lyle's placement of them into walls was really effective, and I think that's something you could work on. I also think trying to maybe go into the militia line a little bit more. We were talking about this during the game. We didn't really see any of the swordsmen from either side, and they can be really effective if you use them properly.
Yeah.
And the last thing, we talked about this at the beginning of when we first noticed this map. All of those fish out in the center, and I didn't see either side use a single fish. I thought that was very interesting. I believe Kaiser said that the fish is the quickest way of getting food, and especially on this map, you could just place a mill down right out there in the middle and just collect all those fish. That would have been a really effective way to get lots of food.
One thing I want to add in, don't feel like you have to wait for your entire army to go together. You know, getting the intel on what your enemy's building and how ready they are to receive you. If you have to send in, just build a scout and send them in, even if they die, and you see that the enemy's building, say, a horde of pikemen, and you go, well, hey, maybe I shouldn't be building scouts. That intel is worth the cost of the one guy. Letting your enemy just kind of sit in the fog of war and build who knows what, doing who knows what, who knows when. You can counter that by just taking a guy and sacrificing them, or trying to keep them alive, but go out into that fog of war, get the intel. And we see the value of that when it came down to that one relic in the middle where you both made a monk play for it at the exact same time, but Maniacal Rodent had vision on it. He was able to both snag it and kill the monk that Lyle sent into that. So just having a few guys, getting some intel, getting some vision is worth doing.
Right. And that kind of ties into almost everything we've said here, where I was talking about kind of, you know, there's an opportunity for raiding and early pressure, and talking about building the militia line, where, you know, if you sent in a scout and you realize, okay, he's massing archers, infantry is a really bad idea, because with the exception of the Huskarl, infantry typically get shredded by archers. We saw that early on when you had the pikeman horde just get melted by the longbows. you know. So it'd be bad to go into infantry in that scenario. But if you send in the scout and you realize, oh, he's massing, you know, pikemen, well, then absolutely infantry is the right choice. Yeah, I mean, just extremely well played by both. This was an incredible set, an incredible game 3. I think if Maniacal Rodent had waited just, you know, a minute longer to start getting those Huskarl out, the barracks start to go down, and that could be Lyle snowballing into a win. I mean, it was that close.
That close.
What an incredible, incredible set. Congratulations to both of you. Lyle, extremely well done. I want to give you credit, especially on, you know, upgrading your game from game 1 to game 2 to game 3. You were on top of Vils better in this game than you were in the last game. I think you recognized that economic focus is important, and you brought your A game here for sure. At the same time, congratulations, Maniacal Rodent, bringing your A game and just using your Civ advantages to their full extent, getting that pop limit. The Goths get an extra 10, you know, to their pop cap, and using the Huskarls, using your unique techs, using all of your blacksmith upgrades. Well, excepting the final attack upgrade, but even so, you know, using those blacksmith techs, way to bring it to the next level and to move on to the semifinals. Congratulations to both of you. Congratulations to our winner. And I think unless you guys have anything else to say, we call it here.
One thing I want to say, like I said before, who doesn't love a reverse sweep? I don't care who you're rooting for. I don't care if you're rooting for nobody. But we have seen in the AoE Noob Cup, we have now seen a reverse sweep. And I think it's just a testament to the equal matching of both these players. I loved seeing it. It was a fantastic set.
Yeah. This is great TV right here. This is great YouTube. So, yeah, congratulations. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Supermud, you got anything else you want to add? One last thing?
Not really, no. I just wanted to say congratulations to both of you guys. It was really, really enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, this was amazing. Well done. Thank you both. Great job. And I can't wait to see what both of you bring to the fields of battle in Age of Empires in the future. So with that, I think we call it here. Thanks for watching, guys. This is the Iron Kaiser, along with Hiram of Tyre and Supermud, signing out.